This is the Commonwealth, where we talk with the unique people blazing their own trail. Today's guest is Christensen. Ander gave a speech at his local city council meeting. The video of that speech was picked up by the New York Times, ABC News, Fox News, and TMZ. Before we play our conversation with Ander, we're going to play that clip.
I promise I won't take up too much of your time here. My name is Ander Christensen. I live at 1212 Twin Ridge Road. Lincoln has the opportunity to be a social leader in this country. We have been casually ignoring a problem that has gotten so out of control that our children are throwing around names and words without even understanding their true meaning and treating things as though they're normal. I go into nice family restaurants and I see people throwing this name around and pretending as though everything is just fine. I'm talking about boneless chicken wings. I propose that we as a city remove the... Excuse me, I'm trying to...
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Come on. I propose that we as a city remove the name boneless wings from our menus and from our hearts. These are our reasons why. Number one, nothing about boneless chicken wings actually come from the wing of a chicken. We would be disgusted if a butcher was mislabeling their cuts of meats, but then we go around and pretending as though the breast of the chicken is its wing. Number two, boneless chicken wings are just chicken tenders, which are already boneless. I don't go to order boneless tacos. I don't go and order boneless club sandwiches. I don't ask for boneless auto repair. It's just what's expected. And then number three, we need to raise our children better. Our children are raised being afraid of having bones attached to their meat. That's where meat comes from. It grows on bones. We need to teach them that the wing of a chicken is from a chicken, and it's delicious. I propose that we rename boneless wings in the city of Lincoln. We can call them buffalo-style chicken tenders. We can call them wet tenders. We can call them saucy nugs or trash. We can take these steps and show the country that where we stand, and that we understand that we've been living a lie for far too long. And we know it because we feel it in our bones.
Thank you. Okay, hold it down. Jeez.
I would like to just comment here. For the record, that's my son.
That's why you're
All right, Ander, so we're recording, and we just played your viral speech that was like the thing of the internet for, like 6 to 8 weeks?
It was quite a while. I was really surprised by it, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I guess my first question is, why do you think it resonated with people?
I think that everybody has been so charged on absolutely everything, and most of them completely legitimate things, right? It doesn't matter what happened in 2020, it was big, and it was polarizing, and it was just, everybody was just all tense, and the news cycle was just rough. I remember the first 3 weeks of COVID, when they started talking about it, I was like, boy, I can't wait for us to stop talking about this. And I feel like just about everybody had the same idea, because immediately after I went and made this joke, which was intended for my wife, my family, my friends, right? Just a couple of people didn't expect it to go anywhere. Turns out everybody wanted to talk about something different for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah. So when you, I guess we're approaching writing the speech. So I guess my two favorite parts are you shushing the crowd at the beginning. Yes, and it adds like a level of like authenticity of like, oh, this guy's serious. And then at the end, because your dad sits on the city council, was that? And at the end, after the whole like riveting speech, your dad goes, "And that's my son." And it was also just like a twist at the end. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you were like approaching giving the speech, like what was the goal? Like what was it, just to entertain like your friends and your wife, like you said, or
So what my main goal was, again, just entertain myself, my wife, my family. I thought it'd be funny. Okay. The only people that knew I was actually going to do it was myself and my wife. Nobody else even had a clue I was going to be there that day. I had anything to say that day. I'd thought of doing this like back in May, but that was when like things started getting really charged with a lot of different subjects, and I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And then I saw the agenda for that day's meeting, and I was like, this is super benign. I'm going in. I'm doing this. So I sat down right after work, wrote the thing out in 5 minutes, got in the car, picked up my wife, practiced on the way, and did it.
And how much did you have it in your head? Like, what was the writing process?
This is going to be like your high school speech class lesson, typical stuff. All I did was I was like, all right, I've got to have 3 things to say, and then I've got to have an alternative to say. And then every time I say something, I got to just make it really dry. And so that was my whole plan. And I will admit the ideas that we came up with for the different names, right? The wet tenders and saucy nugs and all that stuff. I was literally just asking my coworkers. I was like, okay, guys, what else are we going to call these things? And so they had some really awful ones that I was like, this cannot be on the list. But it was just a real quick, what do we got? Let's throw it into a thing and go.
Do you remember some of those awful ones? Like what was cut from the speech?
Oh, it's been months at this point, so I don't remember. I know that multiple radio stations came up with some that were fairly profane. I thought was pretty uncomfortable, but there was definitely some awful ones in the mix.
So when did you realize that you were an internet sensation?
That happened. So there's different feelings with it.
Okay.
Initially, I was petrified because I work in a lab. Okay.
All right. Doing what? Like what? Research? Obviously.
We do. I work in a company. We do cancer diagnostic tools. So we've got 2 things that we're working on. We've got grants to help detect cancer.
Okay.
One of them's breast cancer. One of them will be a blood test.
That's very cool work outside of the whole Saucy Nugs. Yeah.
But my point with it is that I'm just work with a bunch of introverts and a bunch of people that are just, you go in and you quietly go about doing your research. You talk to people in a very professional, like this is what's going on way, and then you go home. And so I showed up at work and it was on Wednesday and I'd given the speech Monday night. And I opened up Twitter, which I never did because I had 4 followers and maybe 2 tweets.
Okay.
And I saw this video that was trending and it had 600,000 views on it. And I watched it go up to 900,000 in 10 minutes. And I just started pit sweating. And I just started like shaking because I was like, I have never had so many people know me. Also, I said my address at the beginning of this video. So now all these people now know where I live. And I was just freaking out. And I had to go talk to my boss and was like, hey, I'm going to go home. And he didn't get it right away. He didn't understand why I would go home. He's a hard man of science. Yeah. And then that night, he finally was like, if you're not going to work, go home. Fine, whatever. That night, he called me up and he's like, oh, I just heard about you in the New York Times. You can just take all the time you need.
Yeah, and that's what I beforehand I was pulling the like the outlets that picked it up for the intro. That it was the New York Times, Fox News, TMZ, ABC News. So did anything come to your house? I guess is the first question.
Yes, but I wasn't there. It was the local news stations. A couple of them actually showed up at my house, but I rented the basement of a house. And so my landlord is the most wonderful 85-year-old woman. She's just the kindest, sweetest person on the planet Earth. And she's just like, I don't know why you guys are here, but he's at work. So you guys will have to find another way of contacting him.
Oh my gosh. That is wild. Absolutely wild. So, I guess how do you begin to conceptualize like 300,000 people watching something in 10 minutes alone? That like the amount of people that like total that saw that is easily in the millions.
Oh, it's closer to tens of millions.
Wow.
So yeah.
And that's tough. Like we're recording this in Lincoln and it's about 250,000 people that live in the city. So to think of like how many people live in your town compared to watch the video of you, I'm sure that thought is something that would make you go home from work for the day. So like how have you unpacked all those emotions since taking the afternoon off that first day? I
have to say I am incredibly lucky and incredibly fortunate. This podcast that I listened to for a long time that had these 2 guys that have dealt with big popularity and stuff their whole lives. I don't know if you've heard of Brian Brushwood and Justin Robert Young.
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Anyway, this podcast I've listened to for ages and ages, and luckily they reached out to me and talked to me, and I was like, I've listened to your show for forever, And they were very, very helpful. And specifically Justin Robert Young, he was like, look, here's the deal. All you got to focus on is just being yourself. Don't listen to what people have to say. Just go forward and do what you want to do, because you got people who love you and all they want to see is more of you. And if you dwell too much on things, you're not doing them any favors.
Yeah, that is really sound advice and relevant to, I guess, the internet age we live in. How do you implement that? It's one thing to like hear that and be like kind of nod along, but then not paying attention to the YouTube comments, and because like whenever there's a certain percentage of people who are not going to resonate with anyone, you know, like and say that's like 1%. That 1% are the people who like comment the terrible things on YouTube and all or tweet things.
They're the most like voracious.
Exactly. But it's also like, so like, did you just not read the YouTube comments, or?
Initially I did. Initially I read absolutely everything, and that was a mistake. Like you said, it's just a small percentage too, right? If you look at the fact that video was seen by, 10 million people plus, and I got, and people were sharing it, right? It wouldn't have been viewed by that many people if people didn't find it funny.
Yeah, yes.
Right. But the people who found it funny watched it, went, ha, 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 maybe shared it with a friend, but they didn't post anything or say anything about it. And so I was listening to and reading some of these horrible negative comments, which, by the way, hilarious to me. I got both ends of the spectrum on it. I had some people who were like, this guy is an awful, terrible person. He's taking up government time and he's not speaking about real issues. And, there are some real serious problems in the world which are real and serious. And he's going up and making a joke. And then on the other end were people who are going, this guy is a non-tax paying hippie and he's wasting government dollars. Right. So I had like these both ends of the spectrum hating me. And it made me realize like I truly hit the nice middle point. The not right wing, not left wing, chicken wing, right there in the middle.
Yes, I absolutely love the slogan, and then kind of moving into the issue. So I was a 4-H kid, and a lot of the points you were making were valid. I was like, yeah, he's right. How long? How long have you decided? Saw that thing of society that we call like shredded chicken meat that we like nug up and then call it boneless wings. How long did you decide that was the thing that like was messed up?
So when I was in college, I had a group of there's a group of like 5 guys that I was just really close with, and they were like salt of the earth kind of guys. And all of us had girlfriends, and they were all long-term girlfriends. And then in a 2-week period, every single one of the 5 of us got broken up with.
Okay.
And so we were the most depressed and sad group of guys wandering around to restaurants because we all of a sudden had more time than we'd had before and more expendable income than we had before. And so we just went to chicken wing places for weeks and weeks. We'd just go. And it became this thing that we did together. And so even now, whenever I see these guys, we've all moved to different areas, we've moved around. Whenever we see each other, we get chicken wings. And from there, you start developing like that hyper fine idea of like what is a chicken wing, what isn't a chicken wing. And you got to get in the fiery conversations that you get with your friends when you're around the table. Like, and that's where it all began. Like,
I believe I saw that the Twitter account was started months before you giving the speech. Is that?
It was, I don't even know how long before. I started it it probably would have been months before, because I had a buddy who owns a comic book shop in town, and he told me that I needed to sign up for Twitter so that I could follow a specific comic book artist because he thought he was really funny. And so I did that and pretty much never went on it.
Okay. How quickly did that Twitter following grow in all of the...
It pretty much boomed overnight. It was like, I had to turn off all my notifications on it.
I'm sure.
Because my phone was just constantly vibrating. So it was like 2-3 days, and I was just every day getting more and more followers. And I was like, I've got 3 tweets, guys. I don't know what more you want. But
yes, yeah, of course. All right, Anders. So now that like you've like become a viral sensation, what are you hoping to do with that? That are you're still working in the lab, I assume. Are there like what do you hope to do next with it?
So my big thing is the change didn't happen. Okay. That's the big focus that we got to keep our minds on. Okay. Because all this stuff that's been going on in the world right now, like with the election and everything, the politicians were not going to give me the time of day, right?
Yeah.
During the time when that blew up, there is not a politician in the world who would sit in front of a microphone with me, okay? And they wouldn't sit in front of a microphone with anybody because the elections were coming up. You know, they didn't want to be the person who spilled the beans on something and ended up becoming a big deal.
Yeah.
They don't want to be seen talking to the Saucy Nugs Guy when there are serious issues going on.
Were you asking politicians?
I contacted some, and
local, like
it was all like local senators, things like that, right? And nothing came through with it, right? And so it's got to be a change. And my mission is I'm going to end the lie of boneless wings one restaurant at a time. And so I've got some buddies, we've got a website, and we're putting together a list of every restaurant that sells chicken wings but doesn't sell boneless wings or has changed the name to Saucy Nugs. And we're getting this whole thing. It's going to be the Hall of Fame. It's going to be our Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And we're just going to build this up until we can get so many people behind this that when we go and show up in a year or so in front of senators and say, hey, Department of Agriculture, you know this is a lie. We know this is a lie. These companies all know that this is a lie. It's time to step up. I think the real change can actually happen.
Absolutely, Andrew. Well, good luck with everything. I think you're on to something. And it's like one of those, it seems like people are able to laugh at it while agreeing with it. So good luck in all of your endeavors, and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, not a worry. Thank you very much.
Yes. And what is that website before we go?
Oh, the website is saucynugs.com. So 1G on Nugs, saucynugs.com. Go there, and if you own a restaurant or you know a restaurant that sells wings and doesn't sell boneless wings or has changed their name, contact me. Let me know about it. There's a lot of ways to contact us on the website, and we will add them to our Hall of Fame. It's free advertising, so if they want it, they can have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, Andrew.
Hey, thank you.
The Commonwealth is edited by Kyle Kua, directed by Alec McChesney, and produced in partnership with KZUM Radio. Special thanks to Emmy Hernandez and Isabel Cheeseman for creative guidance. That is it for this week's episode. Thank you for being a member of the Commonwealth. If you enjoyed this conversation, please tap the share button and send it out to your friends and family. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. If you want to hear more conversations just like this one, go check out our podcast library. We've been making this show for about a year and have interviewed disruptive leaders from around the world. You can also tap subscribe or follow to stay updated when new episodes drop.